Hey there, comic book friends. I'm Travis, and this is another edition of Monster Comics Reviews. That's right, where I talk about, this is the books for the, what would it be? It would be the third week of June, whatever the 15th or 16th or whatever that is, 2013 books. I'm going to jump right into them. First, we're talking Animal Man issue 21. Great cover. Very, very interested in Animal Man now. You know, the stuff that's going on in it. He's still just seriously screwed up over the whole, you know, his son dying, his family abandoning him. He's kind of being hounded by his agent. Look, the agent's saying you got to get yourself back out there. You know, his movie is up for an award, and he's up for an award, and he doesn't really want to deal with all that craziness that goes on with that. He ends up going out on a case to save some animals that have been abducted. There's all these animal abductions in LA, and he's going to investigate it. He decides he's got to get out and do something, and maybe this will be helpful to do this. He's got to do something to clear some of his mind, and maybe this will help him out in some way. Story's told in kind of an interesting way. It's told in kind of a Twitter or messenger board style type storytelling, where you got all these different, you know, characters that would be out there, like would be on Twitter, kind of directing where the story's going. You know, there people are taking pictures of him as he's doing this investigation, and the craziness going on there. He finds a place where all kinds of animals have been. Look like they've been tortured and chopped apart, and he's attacked by a man creature that is. It looks like something that's just a whole hodgepodge of different animals sewed together, attacking him briefly for a period of time before he gets basically overwhelmed by this creature, and it disappears somewhere. And when he goes to chase it, at the end of the book, he's chasing it. And he ends up running into a whole bunch of paparazzi and whatnot. And that's where the book kind of ends with him trying to figure out what they're doing. The other part of this is really interesting is Maxine, who has promised her mother that she will not pursue the whole red and her powers and all that kind of stuff. Her and the cat, when she goes to bed at night, they drift off into the red. And she shows up to the red, and she's going to backtalk the red. She's kind of mad at the red because the red have been ignoring her. And the red, she knows the red have pretty much shut her dad out, and the Parliament of Red. And she shows up and goes, look, I'll help you guys. I'll learn the stuff you want to learn. I'll be your dude because, yeah, I like having these powers. That's all cool and everything, but I'm looking for Cliffy. I'm looking for my brother. That's top of my priority. So if you want me to do all this stuff for you, that's fine, but you've got to give me the ability, the right, and the know-how to hunt Cliff down. So that's going to be interesting. She's doing this stuff on the side, sneaky, like what all disastrous things could happen. I'm very, very much curious to find out about that. Love the artwork in this. I'm real curious to see if Jeff Lemire is going to have something to say about this whole paparazzi, you know, living in the media eye as a quasi-reality TV star and movie star kind of a thing. Well, how does that work? I'm curious about that. So I'm enjoying that book quite a bit. Batgirl issue 21. If you watched on my channel last weekend, we talked about some of these books. I talked about Batman. This is actually Batman and Robin, not Batgirl. I talked about in Batgirl how I was concerned, or actually I think even on my own last review, I talked about how Batgirl feels very whiny, and I was concerned about that, her lack of confidence and all that sort of thing. I didn't think it was as bad in this one. I know that some people sent me messages and stuff and said, yeah, you're right, boy, you read this, and she's just, you know, kind of all over the place in this and really needy. She didn't feel as needy in this. I mean, obviously she's got issues going on. I mean, she you know, from her perspective, she murdered her brother, you know, and it is having problems reconciling that with the fact that her dad wants to hunt her down and that sort of stuff. And then Bruce is way off the deep end. This is mostly told through her eyes. Batman, Bruce, he is very hostile in this, very much doesn't give a crap, lays some heat on her for the fact that she's ripped her bat symbol off, and he's basically saying, I don't give a crap. I don't give a crap about what you have to say about any of that. I do think it was interesting that in this, she actually offers to wear the Robin mantle. If that's what he needs, if he needs her, just she's like, just tell me what, Bruce, what you need. What do you need from me? Do you need me to wear the Robin mantle and be Robin, to be here to help you? Is that what you need? Because if that's what you need, I'll do it. I think that's really, really great. I mean, despite the whole break in the family and all that and stuff, when it really, really comes down to it, she's there to try and help him. Unfortunately, she needs help too, and really probably needs to talk to Bruce about her own loss. But of course, Bruce really isn't in a space right now to be able to do that. So, whereas I was kind of hard on Batgirl in her own book, I'm not quite so hard on this, because in this, the situation makes it even harder for her. Not the strongest of written books as far as these Batman and Robin books since Damian's death has been. Don't think this was the strongest of the stories. It didn't have as many interesting things in there, and it didn't pull on my emotional strings like some of the other issues had. And it's a different artist on the inside of it, so it didn't have what I think Gleason's masterful storytelling with his art wasn't here. Not that this was bad, but it wasn't quite that. So I enjoyed the book, but it wasn't as good as a lot of the other Batman/Robin books have been here as of late. I think the next one is going to be Catwoman. That should be really interesting to see how that all plays out. A book that was absolutely superb, Batwoman issue 21. This book is outstanding. It is a Killer Croc tale. You got this wonderful cover that's by J.H. Williams III. The interiors are all Francisco Francavilla. Is a absolutely gorgeous old school throwback art style in the book. The story itself is so strong. Killer Croc is recovering from having been the Hydra in this last long story arc there was, and he's trying to figure out where his place is. What does he mean? He kind of gets adopted by the Church of the Crime Bible. They're kind of at a loss themselves because Abbott, their leader, the werewolf, was killed in the giant battle with Medusa. So they're trying to figure out where they both land at. They adopt Killer Croc. They tell him that really he's one of them. He's aware like they are. They convince him that he should be going, and they've gone back to decide that they need to kill Kate Kane. They need to kill Batwoman to solve their problem. So they give Killer Croc a sword and send him off to deal with Batwoman. Of course, things don't go planned exactly how Killer Croc wants. Killer Croc figures he's probably having his most clarity. He comes up with his own plan. It's not their plan, and he changes some of what the church's plan is and comes up with his own plan of what he's going to do. Really great story. Killer Croc has a girlfriend in this. It's just going to be really cool. It's interesting because I know that from following Twitter and following J.H. Williams III, it's been told that there is no villain book for the Batwoman title, and J.H. Williams III and Blackman could not tell a story that they wanted to tell when they were offered to tell a story, and so they decided not to tell a story. So somebody else is doing, for the Villains Month, is doing a Killer Croc story for whatever it is. For me personally, this is the Killer Croc story. This is the Villain Month Killer Croc story. I mean, I'm sure they had always planned on telling this story, but it almost feels like a coup for them to have planted this this story here. Knowing or not knowing, I don't know, about whether or not that that villain book was coming out and that they weren't going to be doing a villain book. The Killer Croc villain book that's going to be coming out in a couple months is now getting higher on my list for me to get, just because I'm curious to see what kind of story they're going to tell, because I'm betting their story will be different from what this story is. This book and Wonder Woman, I think, are two of the books that have done such an excellent job of keeping their own voices, their own vision. They don't feel like the rest of the DC books because they really have their own voice. And kudos to DC for allowing these creators their own voice and for allowing the Wonder Woman people to have their own voice too. These books are just really, really strong on their own. And for me, I'm betting that this is going to be the Killer Croc story that I'm going to go with. I love the voice of it here, and I think it's just really good. Excellent, excellent issue. Yeah, just fabulous. Fabulous. No, not so fabulous book. This is Birds of Prey, Claws of the Court, Part 1. The second part is going to be in Talon, issue 9, which, of course, I am not getting. This is issue 21 of Birds of Prey, if I didn't say that. I don't think that Christy Marks knows where she's going with this book. That's the new writer that's on the book. I don't think she really has a plan or a vision of what she wants to have happen. Haven't liked most of the stuff that's been going on here. The book's not poorly written. I don't care for where the direction things are going in. Not in the same way like with Anicetti and Catwoman and Katana and that stuff. Not like that. Not bad. But just not where I want it to be. There's a kiss in this issue that makes no sense to me. It just feels like kind of out of the blue. I take off my mask. Oh, kiss. I don't really know who you are. Hi, my name is Ben. Condor. Black Canary and Condor. A kiss in this. Makes no sense to me whatsoever. Is she supposed to know this guy from somewhere? Because I get the impression she doesn't know him from anywhere. Or does, but I don't understand why this kiss just suddenly happens. Someone who's reading this book, please explain to me what the kiss means. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go hunt down one of these other sites that I know that read this book and ask them what the hell's going on. And they're not always really nice to me when I ask these kind of questions. So I'm hoping that somebody here on YouTube will be able to give me some sort of direction as to what the hell's going on here. Because I don't get it. And I don't get the direction this book is going in. Of course, I'm going to miss the crossover because I'm not getting the talent thing. The crossover thing has to do with Styx or Shrike. Shrike, and Talon, because of course they're both Talons, and there's that story going on there. The main story itself, though, isn't really very good. This book is I just did my order over the weekend. I did keep this on my pull. I don't know, though. I think next issue is will truly be the breaking point for this book. If something doesn't make sense or get interesting or feel like there's a vision as to where they want these things to go, I'm done. I don't need to buy a book that's meandering and not doing anything. Because I'm not even really that excited by the characters anymore. And I really do like these, as a whole, like the characters. I definitely liked the Birds of Prey when the New 52 first came out. And of course, I liked them before that, but this version of the Birds of Prey doesn't interest me a whole lot, unfortunately. So there's that. Captain Marvel, another book that's, well, it is. I ordered my comics. I did not order this book. The reason I didn't order this book is a solicitation for the next book that I'd have to order is it going into another crossover. This issue here is a crossover, the whole Enemy Within thing. This is issue 3 of the crossover. There were 2 in Earth's Mightiest Heroes or Avengers Assemble, I guess. Not Earth's Mightiest Heroes, but Avengers Assemble. I don't want to read a book with a bunch of crossovers in it. If this title can't operate on its own, I have enjoyed it. I've really been enjoying the last couple issues. But I don't know what's going on here at all. I know they explain it and whatnot, but there wasn't enough of the comic left after they explained what the hell had happened in the other issues from the other comic book. They didn't leave enough for me to be excited and interested in. And it really bums me out because I do like Kelly Sue DeConnick's writing as a whole. But it just frustrates me. It's too many crossovers. The book doesn't have time to be its own book. And I'm not interested in reading a Marvel book that is just tied into a bunch of other stuff. So, unfortunately, I'm done with that. My whole family reads this book and isn't real happy that I'm dropping it. But I'm the one that pays the bill. And I'm not interested in that. If at some point it gets itself back to where it's doing its own thing, I will think about picking it back up again. But unfortunately, for me, that's how it is. I don't want to have to pick up a bunch of other titles, and I don't like most of the book I do pick up to be filled with to keep me caught up on the story. That's not what I want to read. I'm not interested in that. And if that's what this book's going to be, I'm done. Somebody wants to come on and tell me that's not what the book's going to be about, change my mind, that might be a different thing. But right now, unfortunately, I guess I'm done with Captain Marvel. Oh dear, this is a rough week in places. Red Hood and the Outlaws, issue 21. I've been kind of going, okay, let's give this book some time to see what's going to happen with the new writer, new creative team on it, and where they're going with this whole Red Hood not having any memory. I don't like where it's going now. I'm not enjoying what they're serving me. I'm getting more and more nervous as this story goes on. That it's wandering off in all kinds of directions that really don't matter a whole lot, and we're kind of being lost in the fluff. So I don't know. I like Starfire. I like her in this. I appreciate Arsenal Roy's loyalty to the whole group and how it's going to work out. But so in this, he's going to team up with a group of guys that normally they would consider bad guys to go and attack the League of Assassins, because the League of Assassins have snatched up Jason Todd. I noticed in the solicitations for this book, 2 months from now, Roy, Arsenal, just finally actually gets around to gathering up the weapons and going after these things. So what the hell is going on for the next 2 months in between? It just feels like to me like it's going to be a lot of blah. They're introducing a lot of characters in here that I liked in the past in the old DC universe. Bronze Tiger is a really cool character. I really liked him. He's in this. He's part of League of Assassins. Cheshire, I liked her in the past. I don't mind her in this. Some of her costume choices I think aren't great, but whatever. I'm excited if we're going to actually see Ra's al Ghul, because I really like that character too. But otherwise, I feel like we're going to be taking a long time to go nowhere, and that's not going to interest me. So this book's going to be really seriously wavering. They're not giving me any of the nuggets to make me go, oh yeah, that's a special moment. They're not giving me those. So, Tinian, you got to do something. We can't just kind of float in the fluff for this long, or we're all going to be jumping off this book, I think. Supergirl, issue 21. Love this cover. Art on the inside is Naves. He used to do Green Arrow way back. I think he was also artist on Demonites for a while. So Supergirl has decided to take off into space. She feels like she's dying because she's still been poisoned by kryptonite poisoning that hasn't been cured. She goes to talk to her kind of roommate to try and explain her situation, that she's going to leave, and the roommate doesn't really take it very well, kind of shoos her off. So she's off in space. She gets a distress signal. She rescues these people, and she's on this planet that is kind of a historical type planet, and that it can recreate and archive lost worlds. Supposedly they got to Krypton as it was blowing up. So they really couldn't save it. They know bits and pieces. Hey, there's a possibility that Kara can help recreate a large chunk of Krypton. Somebody, and I can't remember who it is, I think somebody on Twitter, I think it was Chiming Red, that's Moms Reads Comics. She has a YouTube channel too, you should be checking it out. She has a great thing they do on Mondays called the Monday Hangout. But anyway, I think she was saying on Twitter, and I really agree with her, look, at some point, Supergirl has to not be a sucker for everything. She can't always constantly be playing kind of the innocent person that gets suckered by evil, and she gets basically emotionally used and then finally figures it out at the last moment to stop the bad guy. At some point here, it would be really nice if just up front she goes, you know what, I'm calling bullshit on your antics, and I'm beating you up now, or I'm having nothing to do with it. And I agree with that, because it's kind of where this feels like too. You know, you got this kind of this planet, and there's people in the background that obviously seem to be, they're going to be manipulating her. They know she's coming. They've kind of set this whole thing up to get her there. They're manipulating her in some way. At some point that gets old, her being victimized all the time. Give us some other kind of story. I do agree with that. But I'm still really enjoying this book. I really like the character. The art inside of this one was fine. It was actually, like I said, it was enjoyable. I do like the cover artist here, Jar. He's great. I hope he stays on the book. It wasn't a bad issue. It was an okay issue. But like I said, I think that China Red. I think she brings up a Jessica. I think her name is Jessica. Brings up a good point in the fact that we need to not keep having this reoccurring thing. We want her to be a strong character. But this is the new writer, Michael Allen Nelson, and he's moving the character in a different direction, which is fine. We're going to put her out in space and tell space stories. I'm okay with that. That'll be interesting. And this is one of those books the whole family reads, and we're enjoying. Finally, Wonder Woman, issue 21. Excellent comic. I continue to say this is one of those books. It has its own unique voice. For whatever reason, DC lets this comic operate on its own, under its own power, and editorial, I just feel like, stays way out of the way on this, to where it actually has a voice in comparison to a lot of the other books that don't. They're just kind of going through the motions of a superhero comic. Excellent story here. Cliff Chiang doing the artwork on it, which makes it even better. The gorgeous art. I love the way he does Wonder Woman. We get full-on boom tubes in this issue. Wonder Woman ends up going to New Genesis, so we've got full-on new gods. Very excited about that. She's in this other place. Really cool to see what happens. Back on Earth, things are going really bad. The Firstborn is pretty much taking over London, it looks like. Bad news all around as far as that goes. We still don't know what's going on with the new baby, Zeke. It's like, who knows? It's like one of the goddesses, one of Zeus's bastard children, shows up. It's gonna snatch the baby up while there was no one around. The baby's eyes kind of glow this kind of weird bluish color, and the baby kind of smiles. We cut to some other panels of some other part of the story. We come back to them, and this, demi-goddess is laying on the ground, seemingly unconscious, and we have no idea what happened. So I'm really curious to see what's happening with the baby in this also. Just an excellent story. Very excited by it. I hope we have Cliff Chiang on art for quite a while longer. I think it's a really strong story. If you're not reading it, you should be reading it. It's just a whole lot of fun with a whole lot of interesting stuff. The gods are just so cool in this book. And I'm really curious to see what they're going to do with the new gods in it also. Excellent read. I don't know what else to talk about it other than the fact I just really am enjoying it. It's back to firing on all cylinders and just great fun. At any rate, that's it for this week for me. I'll be looking forward to checking out your videos and seeing what you're reading. This week of comics is a big comic book week for me, so unfortunately all my stuff's being FedExed to me. So I want to have my new comic books that you guys have got right now in your hot little hands. I won't have mine until next Tuesday probably, so that kind of stinks. But anyway, so I'll be checking out your videos and hearing what you have to say about all those great books until I get my own. Have a great one, everybody.